pussyfooting around.
Yeah, I bought 2 tubes of Pringles, like the exact same. And then
Both original.
no,
Because
no, I respect original, right?
I actually think generally people disagree with having like ready salted and that kind of flavor
I
being like
don't.
the most common flavor for like, or like the best flavor for most chips. Most people prefer slight variants like cheese and onion, stuff like that.
I
But as far
think
as Pringles go, it is pretty unanimous most of the time.
is it? I feel like people like. I think the sour cream and chive ones. I think generally get a lot of praise for Pringles specifically, and I think they're like the
What
only
even
ones
is
that
chive?
it's just a
Does
herb.
chive even have flavor?
Yeah, yeah. I think there are definitely peaks for each different type of crisp, and I think ready salted is actually just like a constant because I don't think every crisp accommodates certain flavors. For example, normal crisps like Walker's, just normal pickled onion is terrible on those, but it's like Monster Munch pickled onion's good. Um, and then Pringles, I think it is probably sour cream and chive, but I have the sour cream and chive spicy ones.
Oh,
Doesn't
spicing it up,
yeah.
literally.
Even though it's sour cream, which is meant to be like anti-spice, it's like the milk of dipping sauce.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I just find them so delicious. I could just eat infinite of them.
Delicious.
Pardon me. That's the result of eating all those Pringles yesterday. Oh,
All right.
well, that was that was the Pringles tangent. Got that out of the way. All right, good. Um, uh, oh, I'm gonna take a drink.
Are we live?
We have been for the last 2 minutes. All right.
I assumed so. You do like just starting recording. You get me to start talking about some random thing and then reveal at the end that it was on recording.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about deep dives?
I
Some
think they
random
suck.
topic.
End of street, not
That
street.
that is actually
Podcast.
the first question. Well, okay. Anyway, welcome to the BV cast, the Barrel Vision podcast, your number one podcast for Deep Rock Galactic related topics and news, because it's the only one.
Is it? Well, yeah, but only because fella.
Are you
stopped doing
saying
his
that
one.
Actis Cronus could still beat us in views?
I'm saying if he brought it back, he would immediately get more views than we have total on our podcast.
Oh, well, you're not bloody wrong, mate.
Yeah. But for now, the throne has been left unsat on.
No, it's like in Lord of the Rings, where a Gondor is ruled by a steward because the line of kings was broken, as in basically the royal line is missing. Aragorn is actually next in line in terms of blood, but he's not around, so it's just ruled by a guy who sits in like a chair next to the throne. That's what
Yeah,
we do.
that's us.
That's us. Yeah, we are.
That's our podcast.
We are. Oh damn it! What was it? It was. I think it was Denethor, and he's a bitch. He's like a horrible person.
Basically, everything as far as that's concerned is like anyone else that is like gunning for the same things the main characters are just terrible people because you don't want to sympathize with them because then morality. Can't be doing that in that day and age.
Yeah.
Like no one's feeling bad for Smaug.
I feel bad for Smaug. He's the last of his kind.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought there was other dragons, or are they like? Did they get killed before?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that why there's no dragons in Deep Rock Galactic?
Yeah,
They all kind of got murdered.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I think dragons would actually that they should put dragons in deep dives and just deep dives. That would make them better, I think. But that is, of course, the topic of today's expedition. To deep or to dive?
Yeah.
That is the question. It's actually not the question because I don't know. I mean, it was going to be to deep dive or not to deep dive, but that was too cumbersome, I think. So I decided against that. But we're now operating on the system of question prompts. So, let me throw this your way. Deep dives, do they suck?
I feel like this is
This is like the opinion question. Just how we feel about them.
something I wanted to clarify early on. Nothing wrong with deep dives in the game. I think they're fine at what they do, and they're fine. I think this really is the most opinion pieces that we've ever really done. I just personally
maybe
cannot
it's the
stand deep dives.
The most opinionated piece. I think that might be more correct.
Well, because generally I use my opinions and I stand by them as facts. In that, like, when I think something's bad, I genuinely believe that it is. Like with the escort duty and the boomstick, right? I genuinely think they're bad, and that's an opinion, but I think it's right and true, right? But with these deep dives, I don't think they're inherently bad, although I would say that. I just hate them, and but I don't think that should be any. Like, I think deep dives are fine, but everything that they do, I despise.
So I think there's going to be a bit of not a difference in opinion. I don't think. I think we're actually fairly in agreement. I think there's going to be a difference of focus. Sounds like you're going to be a bit more focused on the actual experience and the fact that you find it boring. Because I know that I'm going to be a lot more focused on not necessarily fixing, but sort of the other side of things. Even though I think our opinions are pretty similar, I don't feel as impassioned about them being not very good to play.
Yeah.
But if someone were to ask me, do deep dives suck? I would actually answer, yeah, they kind of do. They kind of do. But it's not all.
This is a big but.
It's not all rain clouds and poison ivy. It's. I would like to pose the question to you, Tyler. What do you like about deep dives?
I like that they. Right. Okay. Yeah. I like the actual concept of deep dives, but I don't really like their execution. I like the idea that you can chain do missions, right? That you carry that how efficiently you complete a mission. Like, because normally, you finish a mission, you spend all your ammo, you do dumb things, and then you leave because it doesn't matter, right? But if it but obviously you can't really do that in deep dives. If it's your first time doing a deep dive and you spend the end of the first mission just wasting all your ammo, you're gonna have a rough time starting the next one, right? Mm-hmm. But I liked that concept, and I wish they took it out. They didn't just have it be in deep dives, but I like them. I like that idea that they continuous going deeper. I think that is a cool concept that not fond of how they execute it, but yeah, that is pretty cool. And they're turning primary objectives into secondary objectives is a bit funky as well. I don't know. They messed with a lot of what is foundational in the game and changed it in deep dives. Like, I think that's something at least they did interesting and they did right, is that deep dives are very different to main missions, right? They don't really feel it because essentially it's the same gameplay loop, right? But like, they changed secondary objectives. They changed, going deeper. You can't really pull out the rewards of completing a mission, basically. They changed a lot about the core gameplay in deep dives, and I could give them credit for that. It was pretty ballsy, especially. I mean, it's something they could only really get away with doing as early on as they did it. Like, they're not going to try something like deep dives again anytime soon, which is why I think the expedition mode or whatever that kind of thing is unlikely.
Well, that's a nice taxi.
I think it's too big of a risk. But
risk of rain. Yeah, well,
okay.
When it comes to what I like about them, it's literally pretty much all of those things. Plus the feeling that they used to impart. So back when deep dives were first introduced, and we, had to get overclocks, it's a combination of both when they were new and there were sort of reasons to do them for
Yeah.
us, right? And there genuinely was, like, by the second mission, like halfway through or at the end of the second mission, there was actually stakes. It felt kind of epic, if only for a short time. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I can really put that forward as like high praise, considering it went away. It's not really an attribute
Yeah.
of deep dives. It's something that they were able to do temporarily, based on how far like someone is progressed in the game, which is a big issue, a big issue. But I do really like the secondary objectives thing. Although, to be honest, I think that the fact that they haven't translated a lot of missions into secondary objectives, especially all of the ones that have been added since deep dives were added, shows that they don't care too much about them, right? Because they did, because, for example, the black box as a secondary objective isn't really anywhere else, but it's the salvage operation version of a secondary objective.
Yeah.
But it's like every other mission, if it doesn't cleanly like turn into a secondary objective, they just haven't done it. But they did it for salvage op, and I think that's because there was a time when they cared about deep dives, and now they kind of don't. Where there's no, I mean, I guess escort duty and industrial sabotage, I really don't see how you would implement them as secondary objectives, to be honest. But
Well,
still,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, they could have at least tried. I know it is pretty difficult, but they managed before. But I don't know. They haven't abandoned deep dives though. Like they play it themselves, like on stream on Fridays. So they're aware of deep dives and they play them and do them, but they just don't really see the need of adding to them. It seems.
yeah.
Which, I mean, to be honest, I'm fine with, because I think you add what you want, it will still be boring.
Yeah, because they don't hold enough value to our experience of the game for us to really want them to add things to them. Which puts them in like a really sad place, though, doesn't it? Where they sort of just serve this purpose, and then you drop them. Like, I would like to know how many people. I mean, just how many people who've unlocked all weapon overclocks still do deep dives, right? Because they immediately started to fall off after that, right? Because I don't put anywhere near as much value on the cosmetics as weapon upgrades, personally. But even then, even when they brought out new weapons, I didn't feel particularly compelled to do deep dives. And it's probably because I had so many mineral canisters that I could forge and get all of the overclocks through Forge Mastery. But still, it's probably... I mean, it's actually the final question I've written down, but we're kind of on it. It's like, are deep dives irrelevant? And obviously, they become irrelevant to everyone at some point.
Yeah.
But does that mean that they're irrelevant in general? Because I kind of think it does. Because no one really talks about them.
The issue is that I can't in good faith say that they're irrelevant, because they're not. They are something for speedrunners to have a reliable kind of thing on, right? That they can like master speedrunning through a cave. There is they kind of force you to do it as well, like soft force with the matrix cores. So you kind of have to do them if you want overclocks, and even then cosmetics if you actually want to kind of get more of them. Like, there is reasons to do it, for like multiple like layers of players. I mean, even the devs do it. It's just kind of something to do. But I don't know. I just think they could be better, but also not, because it's really the decision they made to make it only ever be like it's the same 3 caves, 3 missions every week. That decision ruined deep dives for me. Like that is why, and the consequences of that is why I could never bring myself to play them anymore.
What? I'm not sure I understand.
Right. Well, the decision to make them the same 3 caves had multiple consequences. Right.
Yeah, but it's only
Um.
per week. It changes every week.
Yeah, but let me talk, okay? Because there's a lot to this, and I'm gonna lose my train of thought if I get distracted. Okay, the first thing is at face value, right? It's what you say, right? Having the same cave, like caves, be there all the time for a week. It's kind of like once you do it once, you don't really need to do it again. Especially since it's not really worth the reward wise. You know, it's no point in doing it more than once. So that's already kind of a negative. Like doing something once per week might not be the best thing. You kind of want people to do it more than that, but some people probably do. But yeah, that's already like a kind of weird consequence of that decision. Then having them be the same caves over and over again means that if they added, actual things in the cave, people would just exploit it, right? Like if they added minerals
Right.
or
Okay.
events or anything like that, people would just farm that guaranteed event, basically.
Yeah.
And that therefore meant that they don't add minerals or events to deep dives, which is probably my biggest hate towards deep dives, is that they're so astoundingly empty, as far as that's concerned. Like literally, you are there to do the missions. That's it. You're not gonna. You're gonna have, like, maybe you'll get a hooly hoarder if they're feeling funky. But like otherwise, there's like nothing else to really do there, because they can't add actual things, because those rare random encounters will be guaranteed for an entire week, and they can't be doing that. Um, that's not just not a thing. Although it does confuse me, if that's the case, then how do hooly hoarders sometimes spawn, sometimes not spawn? So surely they can have random encounters in there. So I don't know why there aren't. But that's a tangent. But yeah, I mean, so it's the two of those makes it a very stale kind of experience where it's the same caves with no interesting, uh, you know, things that occur in it that you don't already expect. Like literally, you could just look up on the Reddit and see everything that the caves has to offer. Like the emissions, mutators, and there's even like some tips. Basically, everything is just there. It's such a stale experience for what the game thrives on, which is the randomly generated experiences, basically. Which, I mean, I assume technically the deep dives are that, but they're just randomly generated worse. They are a more empty version of the game. They're like probably, I mean, I don't know. You're like playing. It's like playing the game before they added like machine events and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah, it's almost it's
boring.
almost a time capsule, isn't it? But
Yeah, except that it wasn't, because they added them like at the same time as machine events, because they had to
well,
give
exactly,
you a cause for
it's
them.
not a time capsule because they were designed that way. They weren't
Yeah,
made in a time when that was what the game was like. Even they were just made that way, and now they haven't really changed since. So they feel um barren, empty, devoid of life.
stale.
What?
They feel stale.
Stale.
They haven't changed at all since they were added, and they can't, because all the content they add to the game. I mean, right. The only thing that's been added is the new game modes, right? And not even industrial sabotage. It was just the Thoretta and Ore Refinery, and even then, they aren't secondary primary objectives. They didn't manage to add them that way. They're just the primary ones. So even then, what they have added, they haven't really tied into the experience. They just kind of put them in. And I guess probably the same with the warnings. I mean, I don't know. There is rival presence in deep dives, right? I mean, this is how
Yes.
little I played them. I've not played a deep dive like since robots have been added, I would say. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, so they're kind of just like popping in the new content and then just kind of like, that's it. That's all they're doing. They didn't try and like, I don't know, work in the new stuff. Like they could have added the industrial sabotage hacking not mini game. It would basically be a data deposit, but you don't get rewarded. They could have added that to a deep dive. That could have been the industrial sabotage, objective that you have to do in there. Probably be a secondary objective, but that would be something. You know what I mean? But no, they didn't
Yeah,
do
and you
that.
could take every event and do that. Every event could be a secondary objective.
You could.
Because the machine
but
events specifically, they appear in like the top right as like a tertiary objective almost.
That's the thing that I don't. Not a machine event, because the point of deep dives is to give you cause to do machine events in missions. Like everything other than a machine event, sure. But yeah, even then, it's kind of annoying. But like my point is that like the deep dives are barren because of that decision. Because they were like, it's going to be the same map. It's just there's no minerals, there's no events. It's the same shit over and over again. So you're only really ever going to do it once, and there's no reason to do it again. And it's just, I don't know. Like I get why they're in the game, and they were an interesting decision, and the concepts they play around with are pretty cool. Like, but I feel like they need to, I don't know, extract some of them from deep dives and make them into something fun. Like maybe, you know how there's like double warnings? Maybe there should be missions that are double objectives. That should just be a mission in the hub. That are just two of missions in one mission, something like that. I mean, you know what they have in deep dives, where there is a escort duty, and then there is like a black box in there that you have to do as well. So they don't. The secondary objectives, there just isn't a secondary
Fun fact,
objective.
you can't actually get black box on escort duty in a deep dive.
All right.
Don't know why.
Weird.
Oh no, actually,
So
I guess I know why, because that means you have to defend something else that isn't Doretta.
Yeah. So it's nice of them
kind
to
of
do that,
isn't
at least.
really right.
But, yeah, my point is that they could add that, and that would be something, wouldn't it? I mean, you play them.
You've got that. So if you, as the warning, the warning,
not really a warning, just a thing, just a variant of a secondary objective, I guess. It could be a mutator if you want, that could do it, but like I don't know, that kind of thing. Yeah, it would probably be maybe a mutator. Yeah, double objective, something like that. And then it will give you more, I don't know, objective points. But yeah, they could pull that out of
but then you could have like that'd be good because
fucking deep dives. They could actually add like a endless tunnel mode, something like that. You know what I mean? Where it loads you kind of just get put into and it will just like randomly select a mission from the hub constantly. like you finish a mission and then it will just pick a mission in the hub and it will just send you straight into that with all your nitra and that, and you just keep doing that until you press the button to like go up or something, and that's just a thing that could be on the same menu, and doesn't that sound fun? And it's still procedurally generated. It's just being forced to play the same missions, not same missions, but like you don't go to the hub basically. Like that, they could do that. I imagine it would take a substantial amount of effort. I imagine, but the mechanics of being dragged from one mission into the next are there. You know, with the same nitro count, gold count, minerals probably not, but like, you know, that's a thing. Like, and I don't know, that would sound fun. And like, these are all things that are fun if they were added to the normal part of the game. But the deep dive has all of them. And yet it's boring as fuck. Like, it has so many interesting mechanics in there, but the absolute just devoid of actual things to do in the missions just results in it being such a bland experience that once you do once, you don't really want to go there again. And once you don't need to go there in the first place because you don't really need the cause, you never will. And at least that's my take on it, and I assume yours as well, Harry.
Yes. There was I guess there wasn't actually any kind of interruption there. This will be it. This is us filling in for the technical difficulties we experienced while the recording was paused.
Yeah. Okay.
Discord just stopped working.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of covered most of the reasons why I hate it, but there is merit to a deep dive.
Oh, hold on.
Um,
What's the worst thing though? The number one. What's the number one?
the number one thing, I don't know. I mean, it's just the emptiness. It really is. It's just you go into a cave and there's just nothing there.
But
It's just,
but that's an issue that they can't fix by just going back on that. They have to do other things. We know why
I know.
they can't put actual minerals in there.
I think deep dives are not like they can't be saved. That's but I do think there is merit in deep dive elites.
Well, hold on. Okay, we'll get to that. The thing that I think is the worst about deep dives is just that their value is tied to limited unlocks, basically, for me.
Yeah.
That their value goes away because you've unlocked a certain number of things. And that to me is what makes them irrelevant. Well, it's why they become irrelevant. Nothing else really does. There aren't really many other features that they haven't touched in a while that become irrelevant. Like, your perks are always relevant. And any other thing, like the traversal tools and all that, they're always relevant. And I know why. They're different cases, but I don't see why deep dives should fall flat in this regard. They should be helped, and they would be if they actually regularly added more overclocks. But I can see what now, because we've kind of talked about that before. I've referenced it wasn't necessarily a promise. It was only something they said when they first introduced overclocks. That'd be something that they'd add to over time. And obviously there have been more when they add new weapons. But I think it does create a problem when there's so much content of that category, which is why deep dives probably can't be saved, because they don't want to add too many overclocks, because that just makes the grind unbearable, right? But that's the thing that gives them meaning, is being able to unlock valuable items like that.
I think that might be what they. I mean, this is kind of off topic, although it's not really. But like, as far as like, I don't like that you have to go through the slog of deep dives to actually get stuff, but it is what it is. But I think maybe they just need to start drip feeding overclocks in each season, like 2 overclocks for like Gen 1 in next season, like the season after this, and then like 2 overclocks for each gun in Gen 2, and then just drip feed overclocks just constantly. So it's like not that much effort at the moment, but it will build up over time. Like that kind of overclock.
Yeah, because
dispersion
also
should work.
Their player base isn't. I think the growth is getting exponentially smaller, right? It's getting ever closer to plateauing. I don't think Deep Rock's going to explode again. I think the amount of players that they gain is going to go down and down. They're going to retain a lot of players,
like underground to pretty exposed. Like a lot of big YouTubers kind of covered it. Like it's not a known game. Like we're talking to one of like Damien's mates,
it is a known game, but it's not a huge game.
Some people still never heard of it.
Known
people that play games
doesn't mean
still
famous.
don't know about Deep Rock.
Known doesn't mean famous. It just means that there's a chance. There's a lot of people who haven't played it that know about it. I think that's what that means, because that's the case. A lot of people have heard of Deep Rock, and that means that it's known in some capacity.
That explosion was kind of due to the people that were gonna play it, heard about it, and have started playing it. So now we're kind of reaching the point where everyone that was gonna play it is playing it. I mean, we might be wrong. It might still keep growing. Games tend to, as long as they keep adding content of a value. But yeah, I mean, only really Ghost Ship knows how the player base is doing, and they probably got the same stats for like everything. They probably know that not many. Well, I imagine quite a few people do actually do deep dives, because the vast majority of the player base is at the point where you would do deep dives. Like they're like around 50 to 100, I think, is like the norm, or like 30 to 50, somewhere along there. And that is well within doing deep dives territory. Also because at that point they're not that bland, because everything's kind of new to you. So it works out.
Should they just give you a script?
Maybe. I don't think anyone needs. I don't. I wouldn't. I still wouldn't.
Uh,
I still wouldn't. I'd rather, wait a week to get a mission to kill like 5 parasites or some shit, and then yeah, get one from there. I'd rather. And if they're forcing me to play deep dives, then I'm just never gonna finish the scripts because I refuse to play deep dives
Pardon me?
because fuck deep dives. Like they are ancient, but they're not. They're still the game. They're still playing it. Like the devs are still playing it. They're still adding to it. It's not an abandoned feature. It's just a feature that they on purpose have less content in.
But is that because it doesn't need to have more? Because adding more to deep dives is only catering to people who don't have a reason to do them, right? New players have no shortage of reasons to do deep dives. They don't need the extra content in there. We kind of just want them to be spiced up, just to make them more interesting to play. But that might actually just be a waste of resources and Ghost part. It sounds like it's going to take a lot for them to make you play them anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they should do what I'm saying. I think deep dives is a feature that I will never play. And I'm fine with that. But I don't like that they have such interesting mechanics in deep dives, such as the continuing amount of like nitro gold, the following into the next mission, and the primary secondary objectives. I don't like how they got these features in such a fucking bland ass game mode when they could be so much better utilized in an actual cool environment. Just I don't know, it's just kind of annoying when there's so much potential of just literally just because games, I mean the hub's fun and all, but like being pulled out into the hub and then you just select a mission and run back in the pod, that kind of thing does get a bit tiring over time. But if you could just like flip a switch, like literally maybe in the hub, where you just stay underground and you just kind of like, you just keep going from cave to cave to cave to cave to cave. And eventually you probably build up an obscene amount of nitro and it's not balanced at all. But I don't know, like it would be fun at least, I mean, maybe they would have to tinker with something. Like there might be a cap on nitro bringing out of a mission or like into a mission. Like you're only allowed like 200 nitro storage into the next mission, but like gold is like infinite. You get the gold you mine, and same with like minerals and that. And then you like come out of that and you get like 10. I mean, how long you spent on there? You get like 10 fucking mission or like levels, and like you just like have an explosion of levels and currency and everything. And even though you would have earned that amount normally, I mean maybe a bit less because of the time spent in hub, but it will just be so much more fun and satisfying to do it that way. And I don't know, it's just a mechanic that was reserved for deep dives, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, they're also not meaningful to like leveling at all. They're actually like inefficient, I think, because like say the amount of XP you get for doing a deep dive is like just a long mission.
Yeah.
Right. But if they gave
like, minerals mined, like events done, any of that stuff.
Yeah, but if they gave an actual appropriate amount of XP, and then maybe there was some kind of feature, like some kind of double XP token that you could use on like any mission you want, and that way you could like it'd be something that'd be quite difficult to get, but you could use it on like double warnings or on deep dives to actually get a lot of XP out of the more challenging parts of the game where you can't get those extra rewards. And I know why double XP doesn't. Well, you can't get any anomalies on double warnings, and I know why double XP doesn't appear on deep dives. But a way to do that yourself could be something for people who are just trying to level.
I think that might lean upon broken territory. If you could just like double up on.
Well, it depends on
Stuff
how
that
you get.
clearly they don't want to be doubled.
Depends on how you get these double XP tokens, though. Quite a
I think this
rare
is just an idea that you
reward.
want generally, isn't it? This isn't a fix
Well, I
to.
wouldn't want. I don't want it at the moment because I don't have any reason to level up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't really have a solution for deep dives as established, but I do think that something that deep dives could do that the other missions can't is they can add that difficulty that people want, right? They already kind of do. Deep dives elites are they go 5.5, right? And I don't think, because of the kind of out of the way nature that deep dives are, I don't think it's unreasonable for them to add the Hazard 6 and Sin 7s into a deep dive Giga Elite or some shit like that. Like, I think that is possible.
To implement higher difficulty, you need another category because it's been this way for so long with just the normal deep dive and the elite deep dive, and it's so tied to the grind. I think they can't make what's there more difficult. They would need to add something
new
else.
Category. Or a deep dive.
The endless dive. That would actually have leaderboards as well, like how far people get, so we can actually play on that aspect that the community have implemented of like speed running them, actually make that a feature for its own like game mode almost, and then it could just be the difficulty could escalate just to a ridiculous degree as well because it just goes on forever. It's a raw idea, but I think a lot of people. It's been suggested by a lot of people, and I think a lot of people agree with it too. That it's just a cool and fun idea. I wouldn't want it though if we couldn't have more interesting objective implemented as well, like the events like that need to come first before I'm gonna even think about playing an endless dive. But there's a very obvious point there where you just get as far as you can get, and that's sort of an aspect that is half baked in the deep dives. But obviously, you can only get so far, but it's got mechanics that suit a get as far as you can get game mode, with the nitro carrying over and things like that.
Because I think that is something with deep dives, isn't it? In its lack of spice, you can kind of just focus in on the objectives since that's the only thing you're there to do. And I think that's also kind of the reason they don't have it there, is because, if you're 100% efficient on the objective, you'll get it done quicker and easier and better, right? And I think you can't really have events in a mission like that, right? Like if you're on like Hazard 7, you see a fucking omen appear, you're not like, that's not happening, right? And yeah, so I think something like that, an endless and or just extremely difficult thing, doesn't warrant like a Hazard 6 in normal missions. Normal missions don't need a higher hazard like that. It should be just delegated to like some form of deep dive menu, where it's just the pure thing is just the difficulty. Like there is nothing else to do other than just try and complete the mission, which it will just be insanely hard to do. So I think you could do your one where it starts at like Hazard 1, works its way up.
Or 0.5.
Or I'm more thinking that it is just like a step up from a deep dive elite, where it's gonna like start at like Haz 6, work its way up to like 8 or 7.5 or some shit. I don't know. I'm just thinking like the only thing that deep dives can really provide at this point and do is the difficulty of a deep dive elite. And I think if they were to ramp that up
at the same time, it still
would
doesn't
be worth playing.
It still doesn't reach the peak of difficulty. I'd argue there are certain double warning combinations on Hazard 5 that are harder than anything that a final mission of an elite deep dive can offer. And frankly, while I said that they probably shouldn't make them any more difficult, like double warnings kind of suits like a final mission of a deep dive. Even if they wanted to bring it down to just a normal Hazard 5 and have it be double warning. Or I even like the idea, although this is still once again a bit hypocritical or self-contradicting, that an elite deep dive would just have the elite enemies warning that as a constant. But that might cause some ruckus.
They did mention they might make elite enemies a normal thing, right?
Again,
like, they didn't. They said that turning elites into like a warning was a kind of temporary fix, but I get the feeling at this point they're not really gonna come back to that.
well, maybe they can add so. Oh god, the Hazard 6 conversation is not particularly volatile. Because it's not like big enough, I guess. I think if it was big enough, there'd be more conflicting opinions. It's mainly the people who are talking about it are pretty much always in support of it. But that could be like, it could be like Hazard level elite, whereas like Hazard level 5 is lethal, Hazard level 6 is elite, and it's harder, of course, but it also has just elite enemies can show up the way that they used to when the warning coexisted with them just being in normal missions. It could be like a Hazard 6 thing. Yeah.
I don't know. I can see. Once there was the anniversary stream the devs did, and once they kind of mentioned why they weren't doing. Actually, wasn't even an anniversary. I think I just saw a dev stream, and they explained why they're not gonna add, or it's very unlikely that they're gonna add a Has 6. And I do get it now. Like, there is no incentive to doing a Has 6 as just a Has 6. It would be very difficult to figure out the technical things about it, because Has 5 isn't just increased health, right? Has 5 is increased projectile speed and movement and all that. They'd have to mess around with so many mechanics of so many enemies just to get the right step up in difficulty, and yet a 0.1% of the player base will be the ones playing it, like, at least regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not enough people would play it to warrant adding it. And generally I'm like, they should add it anyway, but like, so little people, it's not even going to be funny. Like, I mean, and that's kind of why, like, I think generally that would be the case. But I think if there was on the deep dive table a thing that was that, but they didn't have to spend so much time tinkering with it, like they don't put like equal amount of effort, they can just simply increase health or increase like numbers of enemies like people do with mods. And that is just a thing on the deep dive where it is just you tackling stupidly difficult odds. Like, they don't need to balance it because it's supposed to be unwinnable, something like that. Or like siding on the side of like, you need an expert team of 4 to actually complete it. And then maybe that you can get like I don't know what reward would warrant that. It shouldn't be something like a core or like a script that you need to get. It should be like, I don't know, just like a level in the pass, or like a maybe a cosmetic. A cosmetic would be very cool for first time clear, like ever.
Clearing
and you
what?
Get like a
hold on, what?
It's just like on the deep dive table. It's just a stupidly hard thing, right? It's like deep dive elite. Basically,
okay.
It's like the next step up in difficulty in whatever side they take it, and the first time you can clear it, you get like a cosmetic, just like I don't know, like a cool hat that is looks
deep dive
badass.
Legendary.
Yeah, or
like
just something
5
like
missions.
That. It's a hat that's basically a badge saying that you managed to conquer the worst Hoxie's had to offer. Some shit like that. That sounds really cool. I don't know about you, and I feel like putting it in the deep dive menu. I mean, I think it's just that kind of area. It's kind of out of the way, so I feel like you don't have to treat it the same as normal missions, because they're not.
So,
right?
Well, this could be like because I think they need not necessarily more systems, but more things that feel, I guess, kind of exclusive almost. But at the same time, I don't think they want to do that, because what I was about to suggest, right? So we got this thing. It's like the deep dive legendary or whatever, and it's 5 missions, and the 4th and 5th mission are so stupidly hard that this is something that actually only resets once a month, because like the reward is like a specific cosmetic made for it. But then it's like, oh wait, FOMO. And then it's like, I don't want it to come back around with the same. I don't want it to be like a yearly cycle of 12 different cosmetics, because then
that's what I'm saying.
They won't mean anything the next time around because you've already got it. So it's like, oh.
I am kind of I don't know. I think it should change, like maybe monthly. But I think I only want the cosmetic the first time. I want it to just be like a badge saying you've done it at least once, and then like the next times you ever decide to do it, you get rewarded with like actual normal things like minerals or a script, not a script. I don't want. You can't really do scripts. They only give you some. Point is, just something normal after that. I just want like something that you can wear that shows that you're on. You did that, because
Like
it should be
tattoos or
something.
badges or something.
Yeah, but a hat is likely, right? But I would like something along those lines, but it would be a hat.
Of course, it has to be a hat. So I can't wear a good helmet while representing what I did in game.
Always a hat. Or maybe if they're feeling better than they normally are, an armor set, or a paint job or something. But that's unlikely. But yeah, just something that you could rep that says that you beat the worst that Oxy's had to offer. That would be in the description of the cosmetic. Just something like that would be really sick, and more effort than they're probably ever going to put in. But I don't know, it's just the kind of like, I feel like they could take that deep dive menu or that kind of area as like the party game mode area, right? Where balance isn't a concern, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's where they would implement something like the
endless,
randomizer.
Or the randomizer, if they, because I mean, they're playing it. They acknowledge the existence of the randomizer.
Bro, just take the fucking mod.
Well, I think they shouldn't take the mod 1-to-1, but they should definitely take notes of the stuff the mods does. Like some of the kill like a bunch of, I don't know, like grabbers. That's really all I've seen. I'm not watched much of it, but like they should take notes of what they added to the game and see if they can, like,
I mean, it's like I guess a glitch themed season could accommodate the randomizer being added as like the main content, or it's just another feature. Maybe it's like something that the error cubes are used for, maybe. But it's like because obviously the error cube is quite hard to get. So every time you use one, it's like just an endless string of randomized missions that you go as far as you can. It's like the randomized deep dive or something, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stuff, just cool stuff. Just do cool stuff.
Is that kind of, because it is separate from the main missions. The deep dives are very different from the main missions. They remove a bunch of stuff, they add a bunch of stuff. Both they're just, honestly, it's almost a different game, right? Like it's just, I don't know. I feel like they have so much potential from the deep dives and what they can do with that concept, but I don't ever think they're going to touch it.
No,
because they haven't actually added anything along that kind of lines since the deep dives, which has been what, like 2 years now.
But it seems like we're in agreement that they don't really have to change deep dives so much.
No,
it's the terminal is more potential than the deep dives themselves.
Yeah, or the things that are in the deep dives they could expand upon, like the chain missions and the secondary primaries, like that kind of thing could be worked into the main game. It could be expanded upon in that terminal as well. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot of potential in the deep dives, but I don't think the deep dives are ever going to taste any of that, because they're kind of they're fine at what they are.
You'll never taste the nectar of victory.
I'm never gonna play a deep dive again. It's just not happening. I can't be asked. It's not worth it. But yeah, I'm not sure what else. I think I run the well dry as far as I'm concerned.
Bit like deep dives. Once you've unlocked all the overclocks.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's no point going back to that well. What's the just go to the closer well that's more fun.
What?
It's got like alcohol in it. Everyone loves that well. It's good beer.
What?
Go to the bar. Don't go to.
Don't
do deep dives. Just get pissed drunk.
Just get drunk. Just get drunk.
Yeah.
Well. The deep dive. Shit, I did have something to say actually. Right, yeah, it was about even then, like, adding the overclocks might not actually do as much as we might think, or I might think, maybe, specifically. because I realised that just by playing, I get a lot of matrix cores still, and a lot of
Yeah.
mineral canisters that I could easily just forge and just
I got
get.
all of the
As in,
new overclocks from just doing the weekly.
exactly, right? And I realised, okay, the only way to, if they were to add new overclocks or something, the only way to really make it worth doing the deep dives for, I'd have to forge all my mineral canisters, and then I would also have to feel like it was taking too long by just finding machine events or whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should do deep dives to get some of these. And so even then, the problem is it's just gonna take. This is why I do think they're irrelevant, because it's just going to take too much to make them relevant again to the people it's irrelevant to.
Which is why
that doesn't make a feature wholly irrelevant, but I think it kind of does when its relevancy is literally time locked.
I think it is worth mentioning that, like, we want them to add more kind of stuff to that terminal, but what's already there we classify as irrelevant. Why would they put effort into something that, might end up as the same thing? You know what I mean? Like, for example, fucking Sea of Thieves. And a lot of people get this because there's a quite high correlation. But Sea of Thieves had a game mode that was pure PvP. It was like a 5 ships spawn in an arena and they fight, and whoever wins the most fights wins, right? And they had to get rid of it because nobody, it wasn't worth. It was nobody was playing it. Like a couple people were playing it, and it just wasn't worth keeping up. And that is probably the biggest fear that I imagine game developers probably have, that have already made a pretty comfortable game, is investing in a new game mode, new area of the game, and it flunking. I imagine Halo's kind of did it as well, didn't they? They're already removing, I think, Last Spartan Standing, aren't they? Luckily, they're used to failure, so they're probably fine with that. But it's just, like, kind of one of the worst mistakes I won't call it 343 a comfortable company, but or a game that is fine, investing in something and it backfiring, or like just not being worth the time. And I feel like that's probably what they're probably worried about the most at the moment. Like most games, they don't really want to waste their time considering how long it seems to take.
Deep dives are like I wouldn't really call it something that backfired. I guess the closest thing to that is the robots. But the deep dives were almost like a guaranteed eventual backfire in terms of player retention, in that it's something that they probably thought people, we did come back to them every week. But that was bound to run out by their very nature.
The thing is, though, is the way that, because Deep Rock is different to that, because Sea of Thieves, it is a bunch of players. You need a certain amount of players to play that game mode, when there was not enough of them, so that never really even got started. But on a deep dive, you on your own can just do it, right? And you on your own probably will early on in the game. Like, it becomes irrelevant, to most people probably. But even then, the use of it while leveling up, and occasional use of it, even the devs seem to have, right? That warrants its existence to continue. Like, it's never going to be removed or anything.
Don't get me wrong, its existence is warranted.
But it's just the issue of whether or not they're willing to add more to something like that. Like, because that will be a season, right? That would be a season's worth of content, would be a alternate game mode on that terminal or in that area, or a different terminal somewhere else. That kind of essential stuff, right? It's just something you would select and not the main terminal hub. Right?
As in Expedition to the Core. Perfect.
Expedition to the Core, Endless Mode, Horde Mode, that general thing, Infection. Wait, that's a different game.
Wait, what?
Point is, the argument for whether or not it'll be worth it is probably something that has come up if they ever have thought about these ideas, right? But I don't know. I think I don't think any harm will be done in adding it. It just really comes out as to whether or not it will be worth it. Like whether or not they should just add a new biome or a new game mode that will definitely get a bunch of use. People will play it and they don't really have a choice with those things as well. Like they will just play it. Meanwhile, they could spend a bunch of time and effort on a game mode that people might play a little bit, but not really enough. And that would be where all the effort and gameplay went to. And then people will be complaining about the lack of content because the content is out of their way. You know what I mean? Like if they added that and it is a bit niche, it's something you only want to do once a week, that is like probably at this rate half a year's work of work, like of them making for something you do once a week or not even at all if you don't like doing it. And that is a risk that I don't think anyone would be willing to take at this point. Which is why I think endless and all that is probably more likely to be some gimmick in a actual normal mission or something. Or I'm hoping, as mentioned earlier, like a switch you can flick, where it just auto puts you into missions instead of pulling you out. And that's just a thing.
The only problem with that is that it wouldn't make sense if you just got taken to another biome. And it would that would happen, or it just wouldn't happen because they wouldn't let it happen.
Well, they don't really care about that stuff. I mean, they kind of do.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but at the same time, well, they do because that isn't a thing yet. There's nothing that just takes you between two different biomes in the same, like,
well, we'll just
in real time, basically.
We'll just have the drop pod just turns
on its side.
It just goes sideways. Yeah, and then it just drills into the next biome. But yeah,
Damn.
I don't know. I'm not sold. I don't think that should be a thing. But I don't know. I think that would be something, right? Like for the people that don't really want to go back to the hub all the time. They just want to like literally just select a build and then just play the game for like the next 2 hours. Just
play the game.
Non-stop like fucking mining and like killing.
I don't
know, and I don't think it would actually be that much effort either. I mean, it probably would be like it would be nothing.
It's also
but
where the horde mode would go.
Yeah, I think yeah, an arena kind of fighting wave swarm thing. I think that I want that to be at least a mod, right? Where you're in like a carved out arena, and it's like wave 1, and then you have to fight like a bunch of swarmers. Wave 2 is like swarmers with a grunt, and it ramps up to like wave 35, and it's like the twins, hive guard, there's a Corlock, and it's like shit like that. Like that, I would love.
Wave 50, the caretaker has now grown legs. It's running at you.
You're doing the caretaker fight while all 3 variants of dreadnoughts are there, Corlock and Betsy. Not to mention just a normal horde of enemies.
Not to mention a Hearthstone with wheels and a sword.
Yeah, and then they added the Queen is what happens when you get a 50. The Queen Dreadnought. Point is, I think that would be a very fun thing that they would never add, but I can see modders adding it. And if any modder is listening and that is capable of doing this, that would be pretty. I don't think it's that hard either. I mean, obviously, you would actually have to implement like a wave feature, right? That probably wouldn't be not hard, but just having it be like spawn swarmers and then spawn swarmers and grunt and then spawn.
I mean, the most basic version of that would be a point extraction where they just take away the objectives and add like buyable like drops, like turrets with nitra.
Yeah,
and then you get like periodically you get like nitra drops as well.
Wait a minute, this is balloons.
Wait,
what? Wait a minute.
Well, that's the next crossover.
Yeah.
I
swear to God, if like there's a season where it's just a bunch of monkeys with throwing darts, I'm gonna scream.
I'm gonna scream with joy. Oh, boy. Wingo.
Yeah. Well, I
I mean, we
realized
go
we've probably got to start wrapping this up. I don't have
unless you
much
want
longer.
to, because we're only at about an hour. So
We don't have much more than that though.
unless you want to talk about 343's recent blunder, well, that's probably better
I have yet to actually see that
stream material.
for some reason. I've
Yeah,
not gotten a notification about that.
a
So yeah,
notification.
we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, and I suppose yeah. I mean, if you're watching this, it's probably already out. But Harry's just going to be doing the teaser today because I am going, and then I'll be doing the teaser tomorrow because Harry won't be there. So
One
yeah,
little thing that we can add on, a little brainstorming exercise. Having all the missions have a secondary objective equivalent. For some of them, it's very simple because some of them that don't have one, it's quite odd. For example, I think
there isn't a quark.
exactly that's what I was about to
Yeah.
point out. That one because that's so easy, right? You can just add them in,
Yeah.
like 5 quarks or something. And then like refinery, my idea was it could be one on point extraction, a secondary objective where you have a well and you connect it to the mine head. Just one.
Right. I know. I want to kind of make these ideas something that they could put in like all of the missions, and I think you could maybe just have like a mini extractor, and you connect it up to a single like oil.
Or a well, actually, no. I was about to say a modified pump jack that can just go straight back up, but that you need the pipe building part, I think.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You find the pipe. You cool down the the actual the morkite mining device, and then it also summons down the extractor like somewhere else nearby, like like a like bomb thing, and then you just connect them up with the pipes,
Pardon me?
and then it probably is it's gonna be like double the speed of an actual one. Like maybe it'll only break like twice, maybe only once, and it'll be really quick. But it was someone like a swarm that you have to fight through, and I don't know. I think that would. Thing is though, is that yeah, that kind of thing, it would not be worth the effort at all. But I don't know if they were to add them in normal game modes, then it probably would be. But as
Well,
far
for the
as
deep dive
deep
itself,
dive,
I found it extraordinarily simple. The industrial sabotage thing, because that was literally just taking the events, specifically the data deposit, I suppose.
yeah,
Because that's almost like a secondary objective for industrial sabotage anyway. That's already there. Just yeah. Not that I like that part of it. I mean,
I like how that's what
directors
we
is
end
the
up doing a
biggest
lot.
thing.
We keep like pitching ideas that we don't actually really want to add to the game. like,
Do
like, I think, well, I think the less the better. Not I'm fine with the Retta, but the less, or no, the only thing the less oil shale in the game, the better. I think that's what I can point at because I like Beyond Run concept. I think the execution could have been done better. And Diretta's fine. You can't hate Diretta. It's actually illegal. But yeah, the oil shale and all that. The less of that, the better.
But what else can director be used for? That's what I'm thinking about.
Uh,
You could just come up with something, right? That only director can dig through. I mean, and you can just drop her in right in front of it. I don't know. And defend her for a little bit.
Or Diretta's head is just lying around in a cave.
No.
And you just have to pick it up.
No, it's awful.
Oh, you're just gonna leave Diretta's head.
What an uninspired. Yeah, I am
You're
actually.
scum.
I am actually going to leave Diretta's head. I'm just going to leave her behind.
Yeah. But yeah, point is, I don't know if you noticed, if you got this far, we're not quite fond of deep dives, and there isn't much that can be done about it. Like unlike escort duty, I pray that they make it playable, but at this point, I don't think that's ever going to happen. At least, and if anything, now I want them to make it unplayable by making it not something you have to do all the time for missions. But Yeah.
What if they
Uh,
swapped out in assignment missions? They swapped out escort duty for a deep dive.
I wouldn't do anything. I just wouldn't play the game. I don't know. It's kind of annoying that I have like, you know, things I just don't ever want to play in the game. But luckily, more often than not, I don't have to. Like I can just do one length egg hunts and point extractions just over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Living the dream, baby.
Yeah, but sometimes if I need cores, I won't play deep dives, but I'll think about them. And then
You'll
sometimes,
think about them.
also, if I want cores, I have to do fucking or want to promote, I have to do escort duty, which is probably the worst actual. Probably the thing I hate most about this game is that the fact that if I want to promote my dwarf, I have to play escort duty is the worst thing in the game. So deep dives are like probably within 5 to 10 on my list of shit I hate the most.
But it's like, yeah, I guess. But I find it really difficult to conceptualize hating them when
I find
we just don't have to
being
touch
boring
them.
very hateable.
Yeah, but we don't have to even
I know.
think about them.
That's why they're like low down and why escort duty is number one. But yeah, deep dives and industrial sabotages are just optional escort duties. They're just they don't have to do them, which is thank the Lord. And even then, you are kind of forced to do them at the beginning, but they're fine at the beginning. But you're assumed and implied, and you're kind of not really supposed to, but you're supposed to not really ever stop. I mean, the devs don't, and they don't really need overclocks.
Yeah.
You want to just wrap this up then, Harry?
No, because I think we have to do an hour and 10 at least. I think that's my goal.
Okay.
Got 3 hours and 10 seconds. 3 hours? We've got 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. We've talked a bit about secondary objectives, and it's just a system that we both agree should be expanded upon quite a bit. It just doesn't. It's just probably not worth doing at the moment. It was suited to the way they did things before the seasonal model, I think. But then again, they have this issue of not really adding to things just a little bit. And if they accepted that they can do that, then they could tackle a lot of areas of the game very frequently, and it would give them more life and just make them feel more responsive and more live, even though there's only a little bit being added every season. I don't think they just need to go hard in one area every time. I think they need to take a season where the seasonal content can remain in whatever form they're going to do it in, but everything else apart from the season, like theme content and cosmetics, just add like a little bit, like everything, and just see how it goes. It's something I really think. I don't know if it's missing, but it's just something I think they need to try.
I think that's the thing is as
they just do too much in bulk. I think
this season is going to be slightly different to the past ones because they have a bit more manpower to play around with. They're not dedicating everything into the equipment, at least not that we know of. Like they're not just spending like most of their time on making guns, right? Which is kind of how they implied it. Like it wasn't that like they wanted to always do that amount of effort towards equipment. It was just that they had to do that amount of effort for the guns, and now they don't, so they're going to tone it down and do other things. So we might be looking at more variety in additions, like I don't know, maybe some secondary objectives, just some things irrelevant to the topic at hand, like the seasonal stuff, but are content nonetheless. Or we're looking at they added like some other things within the equipment category, like I don't know, like put some perks, maybe some overclocks, although very unlikely. In fact, not unlikely. It's not happening. I think they mentioned it.
But I also think that first of all, everything's subject to change based on community needs, subject to they don't bend the knee at everything. And that comment was slightly humorous. I don't think it's 100% serious, and their minds can change. But yeah, for now it seems like they're not really planning on adding more weapon overclocks at least.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that coming anyway. I didn't think they were going to add any this season.
Oh no!
That,
to be fair, I was expecting weapon overclocks in season 3.
Yeah, I don't think many people should have.
No,
but I think we're looking at it probably closer than that they think. Unless because I mean I don't know, it's whether or not they want to maintain their seasonal. I don't know if we should be looking at like season 5 being next year or the year after or the year after that. Like,
hold on, no. Season 5 will be in 2023, even at their current rate stays, right, which it shouldn't, but it would still be next year.
It would be around this time next year.
Yeah. Well, this time next year wouldn't be too bad.
Which really is the thing, I think, at this point. I think we as a community, and that sounds kind of pretentious, because it is, but like, we need to kind of put out there like the most vocal thing that we do not care about the content as much as we care about the rate of which you put it out there. We will accept less content if it comes out in like every 4 months, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we need to kind of vocalize that, please just get them out there. We don't need you to go fucking 110% on everything just because, I don't know. I mean, it's the case, isn't it? I mean, at this point in time, no matter how good this content is, I think we were still drained by the drought. It is still a fact that the distinct lack of content for so long negatively affected our experience with the game. And they may repair that with all this content, but it still happened. Like, it's not, and I feel like we're probably not the only ones that feel that way.
Cat pills.
But yeah, I guess Harry wants to end it now. So
yeah, I'm just saying. Probably one of the best things about the mission randomizer mod is what they did with secondary objectives. They got stuff like kill 20 oppressors or something, and that means more oppressors will show up in the mission. It's just I want stuff like that, basically. And that also can help deep dives at the same time. What was the last thing you said, just out of interest?
I think everyone would prefer more updates than the content in them.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, people could say, oh, we want this, we want that, as much as they want, but I think everyone can unanimously decide that we want them to release updates more frequently. And I think we need to actually have that be a thing.
Yeah, maybe they need to consider the concept of not having everything coincide. As in, the pass is the only thing that is time locked, and they just add other content like they used to.
I think maybe it's the pass and like this seasonal stuff, but then other stuff can be just added whenever they feel like it. I think that's kind of what you're saying, right?
I don't know.
You were saying like everything. Point is, I think that needs to be like, I don't know. I'm implying that there needs to be like a Reddit post that gets like a stupid amount of like attention to it, which I'm not really sure how that will happen.
Do you think there's any value in Ghost Ship themselves holding polls on what people want to be addressed in terms of adding things to?
I think the polls definitely, because the polls implies that they're writing the options.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's I guess for some reason I didn't really consider that. I just thought it would be everything, but just like out of these 3 things, what do you want us to focus on next season? It's like, do you want us to add more perks or more overclocks or secondary objectives? And it's just like, what's going to get the most votes is whatever's going to be, and like those 3 things, I'd be happy with any of them. But
yeah.
So
because
we just get
that would even do that. Yeah, it's like, because I mean that's kind of what like Minecraft does, but they're kind of cunts. In that they're like, pick one of these 3, we won't do the other 2. Although they did in the end, they did do one of the other ones. But that's kind of the point. But yeah, I mean, I think Ghost Ship as a company would more likely be like, we're thinking about doing these 3 things. Which one should we prioritize?
Yeah, if it's more like, if it's for some reason, my original my initial idea was that it wouldn't be a good idea because I forgot that chances are they would just have limited choices. It wouldn't be like, here's every part of the game. What do you want to see
that
added
you
onto?
guys have been suggesting.
No,
or something
because then
that.
it's just like, well, something bad will happen.
Yeah.
It should
And then
definitely
the only issue with that is that they like to have a layer of suspense as to what they are
Yes.
adding in the season. But then again, if it's stuff like what you said, that stuff we learned pretty early on.
Yeah,
that
and
would
it's also,
that's
exactly,
like the grenades.
it comes in the
We learned
roadmap.
like 2 months before they, like it's very
There shouldn't
likely
be suspense for us to just find out that they're not, what they're adding isn't the most desirable thing.
And then they could keep the suspense for the content of the past, the actual big gameplay stuff.
Honestly, that's the thing that's kept the most secret, isn't it? The cosmetics.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah, well, we have no idea what the
unlocks.
cosmetics are. We have a vague idea of what this event seasonal thing is going to be about. I mean, obviously the parasites and the kind of yellowy mist, but
The mist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's gonna. Well, we don't need 10 minutes. I think we're done here. I think we are done here.
Thank you all for watching.
This was episode 23 of the about. What is that? Is that a big number?
We're getting there.
Where?
But we're almost at 25, and that feels something. I wonder if we're gonna get wait.
What?
But it. Thank you all for watching and subscribing if you are subscribed,
and for listening.
And if you actually got this far and you're not subscribed, that is kind of weird, dude. You might want to do that.
It's because this video is actually categorized as gaming and there's no gameplay in it, so they're not going to subscribe.
Yeah, there is no. Luckily, I doubt he's going to be someone that continues to watch our videos. But
I don't know. The podcast is a bit different. It's
if you're listening this far, you are real G's. Would you consider our videos gaming? Despite the fact that they don't actually show gaming in most of the time. Obviously, we have streams.
Yeah, it's because it's gaming as a topic, right? So that guy was straight up wrong.
Yeah, or would you say this is people and blogs? That's apparently what it should be. And,
all right. Okay.
Thank you all.
5 seconds. It'll be 117. Thank you for listening.